Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are going to make a pop-out landscape. A landscape is a picture or an artwork of the land. Our landscape is going to be extra special because it's going to pop out into three-dimensional space, and it's going to teach us about foreground, middle ground, and background. Super excited. Let's get started. First of all, grab your green piece of paper and put it the horizontal wide way. We are going to take the side of our paper and carry it over to the other. We're going to match up the corners at the top and the bottom and the edge. And when it's ready, hold down the paper with one hand and crease or press the other side of the paper with your other hand. Now you're left with kind of a book type of thing. Take the top page of your book and bend it back towards the left side of your paper. Match up the corners, match up the edges, hold it down when it's ready, and crease the paper. Fantastic, we're almost done folding, don't worry. What we need to do now is flip over our paper and take that top page of our book once again and fold it to the right side. Match up the corners, match up the edges. When it's ready to go, crease the paper. Awesome job. Your paper should look like an accordion fold or a W. Now I know it's crazy, but for now we're going to flatten the paper once again. Now grab yourself a pencil. I'm using a marker so that you can see what I'm doing. Near the top of the side of your paper, draw a dot. Now jump over to the other side and go almost to the bottom of the paper and add another dot. So right now you should have two dots on opposite sides of your paper. Now we're going to draw a bumpy, lumpy line for our landscape. Make it real bumpy and jagged, almost like mountains. And make sure your line connects the two dots all the way. When that's all done, get your scissors. Find the end of the line and cut right along that line. I like to imagine that my scissors are a car and that the line that I'm cutting is the road. Now I need to steer my car to the left and to the right to stay on the road, right? So while I'm chomping the scissors with one hand, I'm holding the paper with my other hand and turning the paper to stay on that road. It's just like the steering wheel on a car, right? Once your car is driven all across the road, you'll be left with two crazy looking pieces of paper like this. This part is going to be the pop-out landscape part. You get to choose which one you want to use for your final piece. Fold up both pages of your paper and decide which one you like better. I like the one on the right a little bit better because it's got a really fun pointy mountain in the middle ground. Excellent! Now our landscape is coming along. Our landscape has three different sections to it. It has the foreground in the front. The foreground of a landscape is the closest part of the picture to you, the viewer. The foreground is toward the bottom. Then landscapes have a middle ground. That's right, the middle ground is in the middle. And then landscapes have a background. The background is the stuff that's in the back. On each part of our landscape, the foreground in the front, the middle ground in the middle, and the background in the back needs to have some extra decoration. Since we're using green paper, I imagine that this landscape we're making has a bunch of grass. So I'm going to take green and blue crayons, and I'm going to add some short lines in each section. The foreground has green grass made with short vertical up and down lines. Then for this middle ground section, I switched to blue, and I used short curved lines that go in lots of different directions. I'm using something called variety in my landscape. Variety means that I have a lot of different designs in each part of my picture. It's not all the same. Now I'm going to switch back to green, and this time I'm going to draw short lines that spread out. A different way to draw grass. To keep up with variety again in my background, I'm going to use blue and green, and I'm going to draw some swirly lines in the background. Once you have the foreground, middle ground, and background decorated with blue and green lines to create grass texture, it's time to add paper in the very background for the sky. So hang on to your green piece of paper and find yourself a white piece of paper. Put your white piece of paper the wide way and tuck your landscape, your green paper, down into the bottom corner. Once you've got it, take your glue stick and apply or put on the glue all around the back edges and the middle of your landscape. Make sure you got plenty of glue on there. Now, once again, tuck your landscape into the bottom left corner of your white piece of paper and press it down to give the glue some grab time. Some time for that glue to grab onto the paper. Now, grab some scissors. Again, we are going to chomp our scissors along the green edge of the paper to cut off the hanging white paper. Again, pretend that the green edge of the paper is the road, and your job is to drive your scissor car all the way down the edge, cutting off the hanging part of the paper. What you should be left with is a white area for the sky in your landscape. We're going to use the rest of the paper in just a moment, but first, let's get out some crayons again and draw a sky. You could draw a blue sunny sky with some puffy white clouds. You could draw a starry night, or like me, you could draw a sunset. So I drew half a circle for the sun. The sun is setting behind the mountains in the background, and I'm going to color it orange and then fill in the rest of the sky with some warm, sunset-y colors. Once your sky is all colored in just how you like it, it's time to add a really fun detail to our landscape. We're going to take our extra paper from before and fold it in half. I always say this, but match up the corners and the edges. Hold it down with one hand while you crease with the other. We're folding our paper in half so that when we draw our little houses on them and cut them out, we'll magically end up with 2 of each. Our job right now is to draw 3 different sizes of houses. Big houses, medium houses, and small houses. At the top of your paper, draw yourself some pretty large houses using a rectangle with a triangle at the top. And then you get to add a roof and doors and windows. Now, even though I say that these houses are big, Really, they're small to us. But in this teeny tiny landscape, these are going to be the biggest houses. You can draw lots of different types of houses. Make sure that you're not limiting yourself. You could add 2 triangles on the top for a roof. You could change the shape of the doors or how many there are. Make each one of your little houses as unique and special as you are. So here's a couple ideas for a big house. Now let's draw some medium houses. So these houses need to be smaller than the big houses. After that, draw at least one small house. And I'm talking really small. The smallest of all the houses. I drew 2 houses for each size, but you can just draw 1 because now we're going to do some art magic. Remember, our paper is folded. So keeping the paper folded and then cutting out each little house around the edges will magically make 2 of each house. The only thing you have to do for the little copies of each house is add the roof and windows and doors, right? So I'm going to take a moment and cut out all of my houses and then pick out my favorites. After you cut out your small, medium, and large houses, it's time to pick the placement of the houses. Now, we're trying to make this landscape look like it's going back, all the way to the background. And to do that, we're going to use a little trick called perspective. Perspective is how your eye sees space. So when you're looking out at a landscape, the objects that are closest to you will look the biggest. So we're going to put our big houses in the foreground of our landscape. They look like the closest ones because they're the biggest. The medium houses are going to go in the middle ground because things in the middle of a landscape look like medium sized. The smallest little houses are going to go way back in the background. Because of perspective, our eyes think that things that are far away are really tiny. So we've got the big houses in the foreground because they're closest. We've got the medium houses in the middle ground because they're medium. And the teeny tiny houses go all the way back into the background. Once you have decided where each one of your little houses are going to go, it's time to glue them down. Put the glue on the back of each house. And then stick them where you want them to go. Remember, big houses in the front. Just make sure when you're gluing your houses that you're not gluing your pop out closed. Make sure your pop out still pops out. Now our landscape is finished. You did a great job today. I can't wait to see your little landscapes and your cute little houses. I hope you had a blast. See you later.